हरि ओम् नमः सर्वेभ्यः अद्वैतचिन्तनवर्गे सर्वेषां स्वागतम्। ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्यासम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुश्रोत्रमतो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्तु मे निराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ अत्र उपनिषत् केनेषितं पतति प्रेक्षितं मनः केन प्राणप्रथमप्रेरियुक्तः केनेषितां वाचमिमां वदन्ति चक्षुश्रोत्रं कहुदेवो युनक्ति। श्रोत्रस्य श्रोत्रं मनसो मनो यत् वाचोह वाचं सहु प्राणस्य प्राणः चक्षुषश्चक्षुरतिमुच्यधीरा प्रेत्यस्मा लोकात् अमृता भवन्ति। न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति नो वाक्मन गच्छति नो मनः न विद्मः न विजानीमः यथैदनुशिष्यात् यन्यतेव तद्विदिता ततो अविदिता तति इति शुश्रुम पूर्वेषां येन तस्त्वया च चक्षिरे यदा वाचनभ्युदितं येन वाग्यभ्युदिते तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं विदितमुपासते। यन्मनसा न मनुते येनाहुर्मनो मतं तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि एतं विदितमुपासते. So this is the sixth mantra which we are going to discuss today. Yat manasa na manute yena ahur mano matam tadeva brahma tvam viddhi netam ititam upasate. Yat, that which, manasa na manute. Manasa means by the mind. Na manute, one cannot know. That means that Brahma which cannot be known through the mind. Yena ahu manaha matam. Yena ahu means, people say ahu means, people say yena mana matam. Ahu, they say that by which the mind is known. Tadeva brahmatvam viddhi netam iditam upasade. Know that as the Brahman, not what you meditate upon. That which man does not comprehend with the mind, that by which they say the mind is encompassed. Know that to be Brahman and not that what people worship as an object. So here, the manaha, mind. So in the previous mantra we heard that walk, speech is mentioned because sabda pramanam is the way in which the Upanishad teaches us. But at the same time, the Upanishad also wants you to understand that we should not think that we have understood when it is being taught by the mind, by the Upanishad. So the understanding aspect of the sensory inputs, like the speech, the sound, the light, the any other taste, etc., are being comprehended by the mind. So we have this identification that I am knowing, I am smelling, I am touching, I am seeing. All this is due to the mind taking the role that as the knower or the one which is knowing. Now, when we go to the Bhashya, we will know the more details of it. But what does it say? Yena manasa matam. But there is something which, when it is present, only the mind can comprehend. The best example is in our deep sleep. We do not know whether the mind is there or not. And even though the sense organs like touch, the sound are always available for apprehension of the inputs from the world outside, we don't seem to be knowing about it. Even a mosquito bites us, or somebody touches us, or somebody calls our name, unless it is repeated many times and shake us up, we don't even wake up from our deep sleep. Even though the ears are hearing the sound, that which shows is that the mind, whether it is present or not, because that is not a question which here, assuming that mind is part of the physical body, mind is a matter which is panchabhutam, the creation of the five bhutas, is part of the body, because we can influence the mind with the type of food which we eat, which is there in the Chandogya Upanishad. When we deal the Chandogya Upanishad, you will come to know about it. How does the quality of food, even Bhagavad Gita talks about it, how the quality of food will affect the quality of thoughts in our mind, which means the matter is the one which is affecting another matter. If it is not matter, a matter can never affect. So, knowing very well that even in our deep sleep, the mind is not able to apprehend or know about the inputs like touch and sound, etc. Of course, eyes are closed, therefore no sight is possible. But we have seen that something is missing, because of which the mind is not functional. That which makes mind its own business is what is called Brahma, Tadeva Brahma. You should know that is what you are. That Brahma is what your reality is, not the mind which you think you are now. Because when I'm happy, I say I'm happy. When I'm sorrow, I say sorrow. When I'm eating, I'm saying I'm eating. I'm enjoying the food. I'm hearing the sound. I'm seeing and touching the thing. So everything is taken as I am the doer. But it is due to the mind occupying the role of the enjoyership. And the mind takes on the role that he is the individual. Therefore, mind is the representation of what is called a jiva. That is why in the Manusmriti, Manayeva Manushyanam Karanam Sugadukhayo is mentioned, that mind alone is the cause. Manayeva Karanam. Mind alone is the cause. Manushyanam, for the human beings. Manushyanam Sugadukhayo. For the Sukha and the Dukkha, the instrument through which you know Sukha and Dukkha is the mind. Therefore, the mind is an instrument, and no instrument is capable of operation without an operator, or without even a presiding function, which is a presiding entity which oversees the mind operation. For example, the sun is the one which, in the presence of the sun, the daytime, all activities take place, because the heat, the light, everything is available. the plants produce their own things, the human beings are there, animals, clouds, rain, everything is in the presence of the sun. But does sun have a direct doership? No. It is a presiding nature of the sun. The presence of the sun makes the things work. Same way, when the Brahma as a presiding nature, or the Atma, Brahma and Atma here is the same, is a presiding. When it oversees the mind functions. Therefore mind is an instrument. So let us see how the Bhashyakara Shankaracharya is explaining it. Yat manasa na manute. That yat means that Brahma here. Manasa na manute. Manute, see, the man dhatu has got two roots in that. One is in the man, in the Divadigana. Divadigana means one group of the verbal, where it is jnane, is to know, to believe, to know, to understand, to consider, to think. But the same man is available in another group also, man avabodhane. Now the difference is very subtle between the two. In the English language, if you look at it, here also to regard, to think, to believe, to assume, that to understand is there. Whereas in this one also, to believe, to know, to understand, to consider, to think is there. But in the Sanskrit meaning, if you look, man jnane, and here man avabodhane. This apprehension or the unknowing capability of the mind, or the assimilating capacity of what is known, is given by this word avabodhane. Whereas here it is jnane, means to know only. So here if you look at the word will be manyate. But Upanishad has used what? Yat manasana manute is what is used. So what does it mean? It is avabodhane. The mind is not to that manasana manute. Through the usage of the mind, here manasa is an instrumental cause, instrumental usage. That means as an instrument it cannot know. Mana idi andakaranam buddhi manasoho ekatvena grihyate. The word mana here is the inner instrument. Andakaranam means inner instrument. Karanam means instrument. Andakaranam. Buddhi manasoho. Buddhi and manas, the logical aspect and the thinking aspect. Both the thoughts as well as the inquiry in the logic thing. Ekatvena grihyate is being together, put together, is considered through the word manaha here. The mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta is the four aspects of the mind, the antakarana. So here buddhi, manasa are the one with which we are transacting in the world, whereas ahankaram and chitta are the two aspects of the mind itself, which is residual in nature. It has got functions, but only for operating through either the buddhi or the mind. Therefore manute, when you are using that apprehension, it is only the function of buddhi and the mind which is happening, not that of ahankara and chitta. So mana iti andakaranam buddhi manasoho ekatvena grihyate. Manute anena iti manaha avabodhane iti artham asti. Therefore the apprehension of world of objects by which is called the manaha. And what is it? Sarva karana sadharanam. It is the sadharanam. It is the most common instrument which is used for all other sense organs, because for all other sense organs, for functioning, they need mind. Even if you see something, if your mind is not there, you don't see the object. If you hear a sound, if your mind is not in that, you don't hear what is being told. Same way, Therefore, sarva karana sadharanam means sarva vishaya vyapakatvat. Sarva vishaya vyapakatvam means percolating or in expanding into all the vishayas, means all objects. So objects are available through only the five sense organs, panchendriyas, shabda, sparsha, rasa, rupa, gandha. So with that five sense organs, when it is being vyapaka, means it is occupying all the different aspects of the objects. The mind is the one which is the instrument for that, them to be apprehended by the individual. So in the Brihadaranya Upanishad, the mind is being defined: kama, sankalpa, vichikitsa, shraddha, ashraddha, dhriti, adhriti, dhi, adhi, abhi, ityetat sarvam mana eva. So what does it say? That desire, deliberation, doubt, faith, want of faith, steadiness, unsteadiness, shame, intelligence and fear, all these are but mind. So mind is operating in this function. So mind is not an object which can andhakaranam, in even though it is an instrument, it like the eyes or the ears or the skin or the tongue, it cannot be identified even by after operation. Even if you do a autopsy or a surgical dissecting of the body, you cannot see the instrument called mana or the mind, but it is available because it is operational. Operational in what form? As kama, sankalpa, vichikitsa, shraddha, ashraddha, dhriti ityadi. In these forms only the mind is functioning. Therefore all of them are put together, is called, that is the way in which mind has to be identified. Iti shrutehe kamadi vritti manaha. Kamadi vritti manaha. Vrittima mat manaha. Vrittimat manaha. So kamadi vrittiman. See, kamadi vrittimat is in napumsakalingam. Therefore kamadi vrittimat. Kamadi means kama, sankalpa, vichikitsa, shraddha, ashraddha, dhriti ityadi. So all these things, vritti means the thought flows. The mind is not an instrument when the thoughts are not happening. Therefore vrittimat, when the thoughts in the form of desire etc are happening, then we will call that mind is in operation. So this is how the mind is being defined. Tena manasa yat chaitanya jyotihi manasah avavasakam na manute na sankalpayati na api nischinoti lokah. Tena means manasa. Here the tena, he is indicating of the, see in the mantra it is there, no? Yena, it is given here, that is that is being represented by here tena. Means manasa means yat chaitanya jyotihi manasah avabhasakam na manute na sankalpayati na api nischinoti lokah manasa avabhasakatvena niyantritvat. So what happens is that when the chaitanya jyoti, atma, brahma, when that is functioning through the mind, manasa avabhasakam na manute, when it is not when it is not functioning, means na sankalpayati. So na kama na sankalpa, you know, na apicha nischinoti. Nischinoti is in the aspect of the buddhi, nischayatmika dhi. So dhi, dhriti, dhi is here is there. So the mind and the intellect, when chaitanya jyoti, when it is not operating through tena manasa, through the manasa, there is manasah avabhasakatvena niyantritvad. It is that controlled through the mind. sarva vishayam prati pratyageva iti swatmani na pravartate andhakaranam. So when the niyantratvat, here is the catch of that. Niyanta means controller. So niyantratvat means that the role of being a controller, the mind is used for manute sankalpeti nischanoti ityadi. All those things in the operational field, something is controlling the mind. So sarva vishayam prati pratyageva iti swatmani na pravartate andhakaranam. So this swatmani means it cannot be, and the niyanta, the controller cannot be controlling himself. Then he is not a controller. Therefore, pratyak eva, in the innermost nature, sarva vishayam prati. So it is operational outside. Vishayam prati means object. Sarva vishayam means all objects. So, but it cannot operate on in swa atmani, in itself, even though it is an andhakaranam. Na pravartate andhakaranam. So here is that Kenopanishad mantra which we should remember again. Paranchikani vedranat swayambhu tasmat parang pashyadina antaratman. Kashchid dhiraha pratyagatmanam. Pratyag, here is the word pratyag atmani. Pratyagatmanam aichat. He realized his own inner atma when avritta chakshu amrutatvam ichan. Is that what the Kenopanishad says? That means he is, because the mana is sarva vishayam prati, it is including the mind. Manashashtani indriyani, the sixth organ is the mind, andhakaranam. Therefore all the instruments like the sense organs and the mind, sarva vishayam prati na swa atmani pravartate. So they are all working only for the objects or things which are other than the self. Now here is one thing which where the word pratyag has to be understood. Even when the mind is happy and sorrow, or any function of the mind is happening, there is an apprehension within ourselves if we are very attentive or we are very alert. That is why Uttishta Jagradava word is used in the Kenopanishad again. If we are alert, when the mind becomes angry, when the mind becomes happy, when the mind becomes depressed, when the mind becomes in a mood swing, all those things, if we identify with the mind, then we will say I am happy, I am angry, I am all those things. But if we are able to apprehend the functions of the mind which is happening within you, you are not being carried away by the mind and its functions, but you become the controller or the knower of the mind. That is that niyantratatvat. Then when you become the controller or the knower of your happiness, your anger, the anger cannot cow you down, nor the happiness or sorrow can affect you, nor can you say that I am under depression or I am under a mood swing or any of those things, because you can objectify them. Your mind is an object of an instrument through which your other sense organs are accessed by you. So you are not the mind, you are beyond the mind, you are the controller of these things, and you know this happening. If you forget that you know that when you are getting angry, you will identify with the mind and you will become angry. Antah sthane hi chaitanya jyotisha avabhasitasya manasaha manana samartyam. This manana samartyam, or the capability of the mind to mind its business, is happening when avabhasitasya atma jyotisha. when the Atma Jyoti, Chaitanya Jyotisha, is giving enlightening or shining, avavasitam means, the actual meaning is when it is shining on. When that is happening, then only the mind becomes manana samarthyava. The mind has the potency to mind only when the Chaitanya Jyoti is lightening it. So we heard that, tasya vasa sarvamidam vibhadi. In the light of that inner Atma, everything is shining. Not only the mind, through the mind, every object which is perceived through different sense organs, they become enlightened, or enlightened here means to have been known. Here light means take it as knowledge. The knowledge of light through the sound, touch, etc. The light of the Atma, Jyoti, Chaitanya Jyoti, Atma Jyoti, when it shines on the mind, it is percolated through the mind, through the different sense organs, and then we see the world of objects. If that shining is not happening to the mind, that is when we go to the deep sleep. That doesn't mean that the light is put off. The mind is not in a condition to project. Therefore, we call it as mind. When the vrittis are not happening, it becomes the amani bhava, which is the explanation which is we studied in the Mandukya, where we say that amani bhava, amanaha means namanaha, where the mind is not there. So the mind becomes no mind when the Chaitanya Jyoti avavasanam na bhavati chet. Therefore manana samarthyam na bhavati. The mind cannot become the potent mind to mind the business. Tena savrittikam manaha yena brahmana matam vishayikritam vyaptam ahu katayanti brahmavidah. Now brahmavidaha katayanti. Brahmavidaha katayanti. Ahu means katayanti. What? Tena savrittikam manaha, Atma Jyotisha, that is Atma Jyotisha is the Tritiya. So tena savrittikam manaha, when the mind becomes savrittikam means with the thoughts, yena brahmana matam vishayikritam. What is yena brahmana matam vishayikritam? Brahmana matam here is what is the interest for knowing for the controller wanted to know, that becomes the object vishayikritam. Therefore that Chaitanya Jyoti becomes a vyaptam for the mind, through the mind, avabhasidam, through that the mind, the vishaya becomes vyaptam, means it becomes lightened. Therefore that what the controller wanted to know, the niyanta want to know, that becomes a vishaya. Tatayanti. Tasmat tadeva manasaha atmanam pratyak chetayitaram brahma vidhi. Tasmat, therefore, tadeva manasaha, that is what is Brahma. Atmanam pratyak, the most innermost, immediate to the self. Chetayitaram means the one who is potent enough to give the capability for the mind. Chetana, Chetayitaram means one who can give the Chetana to the mind. That is Brahma Vidhi. That is to be understood. Atma or Brahma is to be understood. Not na idam yadidam upasade purvavat. What is not to be, what is not what you meditate upon as Brahma is the word outside. So it is the pratyak atmanam, pratyak atmanam. So this pratyak atmanam is the, again, which we heard in the Kenopanishad. Avritta chakshu amritattamcha pratyakatmanam aichat. So the pratyagatmanam can be known when you understand it is a knowledge, because here it is refused that it can swatmani na pravartate. You cannot objectify yourself. At the same time, when you are controlling something through your mind, you know the mind's functioning, the thoughts in your mind, the vritti in the mind. That is the chetayitaram, or that is the one that I am the enlightening force, which I am even knowing the function of the mind fluctuating towards different objects using different sense organs. So that is the attitude with which, or that is the way in which one should understand who he is. Tadeva Brahma Tvam Vidhi means you should know that that is the Brahma or your Atma, which is the light with which the mind becomes mind, and using the mind and organs, everything in the world is becoming an object, Vishayam. Therefore, Vishayikritam Bhavati. That is what is to be understood. This is the way in which this Nedam Ididam Upasate is to be taken from the same meaning as what is there in the previous verse, walk. So the mind is the way in which it is to be understood. Now the next mantra is Yat chakshusha na pashyati yena chakshumsi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam viddhi nedam yaditam upasate. Yad, that, chakshusha, through the eyes, na pashyati, do not see, yena, by the force with which chakshumsi pashyati, the eyes becomes capable of seeing. That is what is being mentioned, that tat eva, that alone is Brahma, and that is Tvam Viddhi. You have to understand Tadeva Brahma Tvam Viddhi, your nature, na idam yadidam upasate, what you here meditate upon. So what is that? That which man does not see, that which is man does not see with the eye, that by which man perceives the activities of the eye. No, that alone is Brahma, and not what people worship as object. Here there is no much of a detailed discussion, because it is a repetition of the same process again by Acharya. So what he says, yet chakshusha na pashyati, means na vishayi karoti, it doesn't objectify. Chakshusha means by the eyes, na pashyati, do not see, means na vishayi karoti, that there is no objectification of objects by which this can be objectified. Yet na vishayi karoti. So chakshusha na pashyati means yet means Brahma, na vishayi karoti means it doesn't become an object. Andakarana vritti samyuktena lokaha. Andakarana vritti samyuktena, associated with the functions of the vritti. Andakarana vritti means the mental vritti. By the association of the mind. Andakarana here is to stand for Manaha. Vritti is the thought. Mana vritti means the vritti is that. Andakarana vritti is the mental thoughts. Samyuktena, by joining that, lokaha, that yena chakshunshi andakarana vritti veda bhinna chakshu vritti pashyati chaitanya atma jyotisha vishayi karoti prapnoti. Here also yena chakshunshi na pashyati, yena chakshusha na pashyati, yena chakshunsi pashyati. That andakarana vritti veda bhinna. Andakarana vritti veda bhinna is what? Chakshu vritti. There is a thought which is happening in the mind. So we should understand that when we are seeing a thing through the eye, not only the eyes are seeing the object, but mind is also seeing the same object in the thoughts. That is the andakarana vritti bhed. That andakarana vritti is that with which the internal thoughts which with the objects are available to the mind. Chakshu vritti, pashyati. Now that chakshu vritti pashyati, how does it happen? Chaitanya atma jyotisha. Only when the chaitanya atma jyoti, or the inner self, or the light of the internal self, atma jyoti, when it is vishayi karoti, when it objectifies what is being seen in the mind. Now here, this physical eye can see only what is seen in the daytime or the waking hours. That is why chakshusha na pashyati. But the andakarana vritti is the one, samyuktena, is the one with which we see objects in our dream. There also we are able to see things in the mind. What is the one which is capable of making the mind to see the objects in the dream? That is the andakarana vritti. But what, not the physical eye which is there in the waking hours, but there is a operation in the mind with which we are able to visually see the objects of the dream, that both the waking apprehension of things in the world, because the external eye is only a tool, it has no potency to apprehend or know the object. It just collects the light waves from world outside and passes it on to the andakarana. The same andakarana which is seeing the objects in the dream is the same andakarana which is also seeing the objects of the waking. So the objects of the waking, we presume that it is being seen outside, even though physically, if you take the physical body, the world of objects are external, outside, but actually this act of seeing takes place in the mind. Only when the mind is functioning, even if a person walks in front of us, we will acknowledge him only if the mind is functioning. Therefore, the andakarana vritti, chakshu vritti, at the andakarana level, at the inner mind level, only when it is functioning, we have the potency to see things. Not because we have physical eyes, we are seeing things. Physical eyes are there, it will help, no doubt, but the actual seeing is happening at the chakshu vritti, at the andakarana vritti. It is the same andakarana vritti which is capable of helping us to see the objects of the dream also, where the physical eye is closed. But we also seeing, there also we are seeing the objects and things of the world of in the dream also. Why it is happening? Atma jyotisha vishayi karoti vyapnoti. It is the Atma Jyoti, which is the Chaitanya Swarupa, Chaitanya Atma Jyoti, is the one which is objectifying. Therefore, that light from the Atma Jyoti is the one which is pervading both the world of objects outside in the waking, on the world of objects of the dream, which is the Chakshu vritti. Tat eva ityadi purvam, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi netam ididam upasate is repeated here also. So here that now the chakshu is being mentioned, vak has been over, mana is over, chakshu is over, now goes to shrotram, means here that the ears. Yat shrotrena na shrunoti yena shrotramidam shrutam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Yat, that Brahma, na shrunoti, cannot be heard. Even though we are able to hear the word Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Atma, Brahma, all of them in the ears we are seeing, but Brahma cannot be seen by that. But Yena Shrotram Idam Shrutam, Yena, by which Idam Shrotram, this sense of hearing, Shrutam Bhavati, is potential to become an object of, become the tool for hearing. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Vididam Upasate. That which does not hear with the ear, that means Brahma cannot be heard by the ear. That by which the man knows his ear or is heard, know that as Brahman. Here also there is not much of a description given by Shankara here. Bhashyakara says that yet Brahma Shrotrena na shrunoti. It cannot be Shrotrena na shrunoti. Digdevada adhishtitena akasha karyena manovritti samyuktena na vishayikaroti lokaha. There he is bringing that Shrotram is adhisthana devata is Digdevata. Only Digdevata is in the 8 corners. There are Digdevata, Ashtadik Palaka. Akasha karyena, using the through Akasha as an intermediary. Manovritti samyuktena, when it becomes entangled with or associated with the manovritti, andakarana vritti, then if it is not there, na vishayi karoti lokaha, it cannot be objectified. But when only yen atma jyotisha vishayikritam bhavati, what atma, only when the chaitanya atma jyoti vishayi karoti, then only the ear becomes hearable. Yena shrotram idam shrutam, the ears become, see what is the activity of the mind, that the mind which is required through the light of consciousness, then only Shrotram becomes known as a ear for hearing. Like what we said about the eyes, same way for the sound also. If somebody is calling you, we will not listen to that unless the mind is there is enlightening or shining upon the instrument of Shrotram. That is why Chaitanya Atma Jyotisha Vishayikritam Bhavati Cheteva. Only when the Atma Jyoti makes possible it to objectify, the ears become potent enough to listen or hear things. Tadeva Brahmatvam Viti. That Atma Jyoti, Chaitanya Jyoti, is the Brahma, which is Tvam Vidhi. You should know that is your nature. Nedamididam upasate. Not what you meditate upon is the world outside. Yat pranena na praniti yena prana praniyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam vididam upasate. Here also the prana is here used for smell, because vayu. So pancha prana, there are pancha prana, but mukhya prana is prana apana. So prana is the inhaling, apana is the exhaling. So here he has taken only the mukhya prana. Yet pranena na praniti. Praniti means does not become known by the prana, the sense of smell. Yena prana praniyate, by which the prana, the smell, the smelling is enabled. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam vididam upasate. Just as in the previous case, this prana is becoming that smell, the sense of smell becomes a sense of smell only when the prana is there. That in the medical colleges or in the hospitals, when they check whether there is a person is responding or not, they make them smell strong ammonia through their nostrils. If there is a bit of life in the body, it will shake, which shows that only when the life, when the Atma Jyotisha mind is in functioning through the smell, that smell can be encapsulated or captured by the nostrils. However strong it is there, even a strong ammonia smell becomes useless to tickle that sense of smell if there is no prana in it or there is no Atma Jyoti in it. This is what it is here mentioned. Yat pranena granena, pranena ityukte granena, smell, parthivena nasika pudandara avastidena andakarana pranavrittibhyam sahitena yat na praniti gandavat na vishayikaroti. So what I said, that same thing. Granena means nostrils. Parthivena, Prithvi Gandhavati is the way in which, how do you identify the earthly things, is because all earthly things have got its own distinctive smell. So Nasika Puda Andarvastina. In the Nasika Puda Andarvastina means in the two nostrils inside, only when Andakarana Prana Vrittibhyam Sahitena Yat na praniti gandavat na vishayi karoti. When the andakarana vritti doesn't happen through the mind vritti doesn't happen, then na vishayi karoti. Even if the strong ammonia doesn't become an object for the smell, because if the mind is not functioning, yena chaitanya atma jyotisha tasya avabhasayanttvena, jyotisha avabhasatvena swavishayam prati prana praniyate tadevatyadi sarvam samanam. So here also the Chaitanya Atma Jyoti, when the self, the shining conscious self, when it is shines through the mind, only then even the smell, that we may think that the mind has no role to play in the smell. No. Even that example which I gave, or even in the deep sleep, when we are in deep sleep, if we are in a stinking room, when we fall asleep, we are not even aware of the stinking room. Or if there is somebody, some incense or some good smell is coming, we won't know unless we wake up. That means the mind has to be in operation. That is andakarana pranavritti. That is sahitena. Only when that mind, when it operational as the mind through the mental reflection of the Atma Jyoti avabhasena, that vishayi karoti, that it becomes, and all that the smell, the objects of the smell, whatever it is, becomes an objectified only if the mind is there. Therefore that with which the nostrils or the smell can be apprehended even through the mind, because mind cannot apprehend the smell directly, it needs the nostrils. But in the deep sleep or in the dream world, if we are getting a smell of a jasmine or a rose or some good smell we are getting, it is this, not this nostril, because you are in a stinking room or in a room where there is no smell which is specific to that one which we are experiencing in the dream. But in the mind we are able to capable of smelling that. Therefore it is the Atma Jyoti avabhasatvena swavishayam prati prana praniyate. Then only the prana, the granam, that sense of smell, whether it is in the waking world or in the dream world, the mind is the one which is smelling. The grana, the nostrils, are only an instrument for the mind. For the waking world, for the dream world, even the nostrils are not required. Therefore there is something which is controller beyond the eyes, ears, smell, touch, sense, all the five sense organs. There is somebody beyond all those things. And with this, the first canto, Kenesisam Padi Prathama Kantaha Samaptaha. Now we have some time available in our hand before we will take the introduction to the Dvidiya Khanda, which is a very important the part 2 of the first chapter. एवं हेयोपादेय विपरीतः आत्मा ब्रह्मेति प्रत्ययादीतः शिष्यः अहमेव ब्रह्मेति सुष्ठुः वेदाहम् इति मा गृह्णीयात् इति आशयात् आचार्यः शिष्यबुद्धिविचलनार्थं यदित्यादि हेयोपादेय विपरीतः त्वम् आत्मा brahmeti. So fearing that, shishya buddhi vichalanartham, to tickle the intellect of the shishya, who vedaham iti, I know now what is Brahma. Vedaha vedam purusham mahandam adityavarnam tapasam prastad. There is a statement in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So aham eva brahmeti sushtu vedaham iti. I know, understand. Now I know what is Brahma. Aham eva Brahma. This can be a misguided knowledge with the student after hearing the first part, that okay, the mind cannot there, the eyes cannot there, this everything, but I am there, so I am Brahma. Ahameva Brahma iti sushtu. Now griniyat iti ashaya aha acharya. If the student is thinking like that, that I know that, he may jump to the conclusion that I know that I am a Brahma now. See, what does it say? Fearing that the disciple to whom he has been taught the home of conviction, tadeva brahmatvam viddhi, you are the self, which is opposed to the acceptable and the unacceptable, and which is Brahman, may jump to the conclusion that I know myself well enough that I indeed am Brahman. Now we all have an idea, I am. This idea, I am, is not the real idea of I am. The Acharya knows that if he are told Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi, if it is being told, everybody will think, now what we think ourselves as Brahma, as Atma or I am, that I is the Brahma, but it is not. The I which is in our perception or in our knowledge now, right now what we think Aham is the individuality, the Jivatvam. That Jivatvam is Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. Jiva and Brahma, there is no difference in the essence. But when we are saying that I know myself, we are not knowing ourselves as pure I. This is why I gave that exercise to be done, that if one can define himself or herself without any iota of reference to the past, neither time, space, or whatever knowledge yourself about yourself with adjectives or qualifications as male, female, name, age, location, looks, association with the world, association with relatives, nothing, not even any word from your past should not be utilized for explaining the I which is experienced now. If you can experience that I or define that I without any data from your memory, that is the pure I which we are talking about here, Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. But the moment when we are told that I, we have a concept of I. Nobody can be denied that. It is not anybody's fault. But we have a concept of I as I am the knower. That Brahma or the I is not even the knower, because there is no kriya, nishkriyaha. There is no activity for that self. The self, that it is just like the sun example which I told. There cannot be any activity which you can take upon yourself or ourselves to define I know myself, therefore I am. There is a famous, I think therefore I am is a famous, there is a statement there in the Roman philosophy. That is not what he is talking about. Even without thinking, you are not even the thinker, you are not even the knower, you are just an awareness without any activity or any doership, no enjoyership. That is the purity. When that comes, the mind takes on the activity as the knower, doer. All those things are taken by that is where the ahankara or aham vritti is, the chinta is happening in the mind. Just like the sun, when it is present, every activity takes place on the earth, but the sun is not a doer of anything. Mere presence of sun, everything happens. Neither the murder nor the love, nor the war nor the peace, nothing is affecting the sun, but everything happens on the surface of the earth. Not only earth, but all the planets, wherever whatever is happening, but there is no doership in that light. Same way, this atma jyoti, aham is not a vritti there. The moment it becomes a vritti, means a thought. When the aham becomes a thought, it has entered the mind. Therefore the disciple can think that ahameva brahmeti, sushtu vedahamiti. I know well that vedaham means I know well. Ahameva brahmeti, I know it. Ma griniyad, that should not be the way in which he should understand iti ashayat. With that as an intention, acharya tells that for what purpose? Shishya buddhi vichalanartham, to destabilize the conviction with the student thinks that aham vritti is the reason, that is the brahma vritti. So that vritti is the one with which aham brahma is the being considered. To explain that is the beginning of the next mantra, which is going to start it. Yadi manyase suvededi deharamevaapi nunam tvam vetha brahmano rupam yadasitvam yadasya devesha atha no mimamsye meva te manye viditam. Then he goes to vidita tato avidita ati, which he has explained in the earlier. That is being, now he is explaining to that aspect. So this is how the second part of the Upanishad is very important, because whatever we heard in the first part, we may conclude that we know what is Brahma, we know what we are, but Upanishad is very loving, from caring, in the sense that we should not fall into a wrong trap. What is Brahma and Aham is to be understood in the proper sense, not the way in which we may construe that this feeling of I which I am now experiencing is itself is Brahma. No, that is not. That is what the next chapter is going to be. Next part will be, we will take it in the next class. Any questions? Okay, so I will stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all.